We go straight to the very first one. It's Daily Monitor, and we're going all the way to Uganda. Definitely, we are Africa first. Number one, numero uno, when it comes to breaking all the African stories and let you in on the incisive details. We'll go straight to the very big one on the front page. There says, woman to pay 10 million shillings for refusing to marry. Okay. Why must she pay that money? Well, listen. Will you marry me? Question mark. Court records show that Mr. Richard Tumwini and Miss Fortunate I'm sorry.
That sounds very evil.
Fortunate Kyarikunda started their love relationship in 2015. That's when they started having this a romantic moment, you know, and later entered a promise to tie the knot in 2018. However, Kyarikunda did not meet her end of the bargain, triggering court battle that has set her back by 10 million shillings. The story is on page 8. Olive, I'm going to hit the table and I will stop on this story.
Very interesting story.
Why do you promise a man you want to marry him since 2015 and all of a sudden you change your mind like the weather?
So, on the one hand, I want to look at
17,
it.
18, 19,
Yes, I know. On the one hand, I want to look at it from the moral perspective of, oh, she may have seen some things that have now some new information that has been introduced, and this is not regardless. This is regardless of the fact that she's female. You know, either way, maybe the person has picked up some new habits, which was not part of the conversation at the beginning. But it's also important there actually is a case that can be raised there. There is a fundamental principle, at least in I know that I think the case
for 8 years old
was the breach of promise to marry, that there is, I think it's Besela against Stern. That should be like the legal case that gives that principle. So if somebody promises to marry you, and then they breach on that, you can actually take them to court and
10
for
million
damages.
shillings.
Yeah.
But it took her 8 years to realize that.
I'm not married, and I'm not a party to their peculiar situation. Yes, but I understand that it's very painful. It's a waste of time. But if I agreed to marry someone 8 years ago, and somewhere in the 7th year of our relationship, they then start, because people evolve. They then evolve into a version that I'm not quite sure I want to spend the rest of my life with. I think she can go to court and argue it out.
Okay. Anyway, let's look at some of the things you also find on the paper, some other big stories. Liberation Day, yes, that's it. We'll be fully in middle income in 3 years, according to Museveni. Still on the Daily Monitor, very briefly. Still talking on Liberation Day. And let's take just one more. This one, special report, just beneath, you'd find it there. It says, questions linger over 16 trillion shilling oil refinery project, page 6 and 7. Well, I can tell you this morning on a Friday, the Daily Monitor is fully loaded, so make sure you go read through and find out what it says.
All right, now let's head over to the Namibian in Southern Africa and see what's happening on the front page. We can see the big story says, I can't cancel health tender. This is, of course, said by the president. Shangula says cancelling tender would endanger lives. The Congo says health minister is insulting the nation. And LPM and PDM take aim at procurement board. These are that's the big story this morning. At the top of the paper, stop the quote-unquote authority stealing. That's interesting. You know, we also have Keith Black reflects on German Poetry Fellowship, and we have Namibian men use 45 million government condoms a year. Joe, the agenda.
Take it again.
Use 45 million government condoms a year. Anyway, and the final story this morning, protesters block Walvis streets over ShopRite workers' suicide. That's a sad one. But that's what we can take this morning on the Namibian. Let's head over from the south to the west.
Olive said your gender.
Is it not your gender?
Okay. All right. Let's move on to our next paper. Let's go straight let's come to West Africa now. Let's look at the Punch. The Punch is our next focus, and the Punch says mega churches, schools bar old Naira note payment and offering. So if you're going to church or you're about to make payments, make sure you go with a new Naira note. That's what they're saying. Or better still, just do a transfer. New note shortage forces banks to shut ATMs, customers demand extension. Reps threaten Emefiele with arrest, insists CBN governor must obey summons. Law professor sues CBN. NLC writes Buhari over deadline extension. We're going to have an extensive talk on this at the 8 o'clock hour. Olive is set to do that. Of course, we have a special guest who is well seasoned when it comes to these discussions. Traders bemoan losses as fire guts Lagos market. Petrol scarcity. Protesters block Lagos Benin Expressway. They are tired. They said enough is enough. Power tariff shortfall now 2.5 trillion naira according to federal government. And then we have coming back that story. My wife battled for survival as hospitals refused treatment. Slain lawyer's husband. Yeah, we heard that voice note. Very sad. I think the Punch is also doing an exclusive as well, looking back. But so much. Katsina youths protest hardships. Stone officials during Buhari's visit. Buhari is in Katsina and the youths, you need to see the video. They were not happy at all. They were throwing stones, getting angry and so on. And this is build up to the elections. But you know what? That's all that we can take pretty much for this hour. Taking a look at the papers. Why don't you do us a favor? Go online, follow us on all socials, tweet us, let us know what stories you think you would like to talk about, and we'll be looking forward to hear from you.